Welcome everybody to Bronx Eats and the second class in our vegan burger series. Many of you who attended previous classes requested that we offer a meatless burger series, and Bronx Eats listened to your feedback. Tonight, we're going to have a different format than usual. Daryl was unfortunately unable to use her kitchen this evening, so instead we will be discussing her vegan cookbook and why and how she became vegan herself. She has also said that she will try to record herself making this recipe, and I will make sure to send you her recording once I receive it. Again, welcome to all of you, and thank you for your flexibility regarding tonight's different format. I'm sure that you will find Daryl and her insights very inspiring. So this series is very special to me because both of our presenters are Bronx born and raised, which is not always the case with our Bronx Eats classes. So tonight we're keeping it very local, which I really appreciate, showcasing the incredible talent that is right here in the Bronx. I met Daryl McBride only a few months ago because she was one of the winners of the Bronx Eats Summer Recipe Contest. As we prepared her delicious winning dish and over 100 sample tasters at the Bronx Night Market, we began to talk and realized our common interests, especially around healthy eating, the Bronx, food justice, and plant-based nutrition. As you will hear in a minute, Daryl is a tremendous activist in all of these areas and understands the powerful interplay between food, health, and race. Thank you, Daryl, for being here tonight. It is really my great privilege to introduce you to this growing Bronx Eats community. Before I introduce Daryl, I want to take a minute to give you a quick summary of where we are in the Bronx regarding health and COVID. As most of you already know, COVID caused massive economic stress in the Bronx. Food insecurity, healthy food access, and health disparities got much worse during this time, especially for Black and Latinx families. Access to high quality, affordable, fresh fruits and vegetables has always been a challenge for low-income communities of color long before COVID hit because of structural racism and inequities in the food system. This has increased diet-related chronic diseases and made COVID-19 cases more deadly and harder to escape. It has never been clearer that access to healthy, culturally appropriate, fresh food must be seen as a basic human right for everyone, especially in New York City, the very richest city on earth. Bronx Eats is one organization looking to change the food landscape so that access to fresh, affordable, and nourishing food is not limited by your income, race, or neighborhood. Everyone depends on access to a healthy food environment to experience physical and mental health and to live up to his or her potential. The food system really needs to work for everyone. The Bronx Eats is here to make sure that Bronxites know how to cook healthy plant-based meals and can access fresh, affordable food so that they can prepare healthy, delicious meals for themselves and their families. Food subsidies and the food advertising industry are determined to do just the opposite, to lure people to consume less healthy, cheap, fast food options rather than the healthier plant-based meals that nourish our whole selves. We hope that you will join us for future classes and care for yourselves and your bodies in the best possible way. We all need to eat more real plant-based food during our day. If for some reason you got the link to this class tonight through Daryl and you're not registered to receive Bronx Eats newsletters, please put your name in the chat, your email in the chat box, and I'll be sure to add you to the mailing list. And now, as for Daryl, AKA Petty Vegan MC, Daryl is a Bronx-based vegan lifestyle coach certified by the Main Street Vegan Academy. She's also the founder of the Boogie Down Vegan Puerto Rican. She's a spoken word artist and cookbook author. Her cookbook, entitled The Boogie Down Vegan, teaches low-income communities how to transition to a vegan lifestyle with a minimal budget. Now, I could go on about Daryl, but I actually think I'm going to stop here and let her tell her own story. One of the reasons, I'll just finish up here and say, one of the reasons she was the winner of the Bronx Eats recipe contest last summer was that her story was just so compelling and so beautifully written that we couldn't resist her. So rather than read her intro to us, I'll let her tell it to us. And without further ado, take it away, Daryl. Please put any questions, by the way, that you have for her in the chat box, and I'll be sure to ask them her as she speaks.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really sorry about tonight's random reoccurrence. Hold on. But yeah, I guess I'll start with how I went vegan 5 years ago. And growing up, I didn't care about my health whatsoever. My dad was diabetic and my mom had chronic kidney disease, and I grew up in the Bronx. Um, and unlike now, where there's a lot more vegan resources and a lot more things like beyond meat, that was never a thing. So I grew up eating the traditional chicken burgers, fried foods, and all of those things, TV dinners, and things like that. And it wasn't until I saw Food Inc. where I was able to feel inspired and actually connected to animals. So I actually went vegan for the animals. And a lot of people don't really know that about me. But before, I had like a strange relationship with animals where I felt very superior to them. So that's basically why I went vegan. And now I'm a certified vegan life coach. I have my vegan cookbook, which I'm super excited to talk about today. I have lots of different recipes in here, different breakfast items, different desserts, and things of that nature. So the big thing for me when it comes to going vegan is to pace yourself. One of the damages that I brought onto myself was that I jumped into veganism, only because I was just so moved by the documentary that I saw. And what ended up happening was that my body started to detox everything that I had eaten for all of those years, all of the toxic foods, all the waste, and things like that. So don't do that. Don't go vegan tomorrow. Um, if you're not vegan, um, really pace yourself, really try to understand like what you like and what you don't like. The biggest thing that I always tell people is if you went vegan or you're trying to go vegan and it's not going well, you're probably not doing it right. So you need guidance. And so today I really want to talk more about how to manage a vegan diet but on a budget, because that's why I created my book.
So important. And I really appreciate your clarifying that going slowly is sometimes a better way to do things than going quickly. And a lot of people feel like if they're not purist and going the whole way, then somehow they're failing. And you're saying exactly the opposite. Go slowly, pace yourself, make changes, but doesn't have to be overnight. I love that.
Absolutely. So yeah, as it relates to this specific burger, this is something that I made when I was in Africa. So I'll tell you the story about how I came up with this recipe. I was living in Africa and I was really worried about how I was going to go vegan. How was I going to live in Africa for like a year on a vegan diet? I was very worried. So I was like, okay, I need to prepare myself for this. I hope they have chickpeas. I hope they have things that I can eat there. Turns out that they actually had a lot of vegan options. And I was living down the road from like a vegetarian vegan restaurant. So part of my recipe comes from being at that restaurant and just talking to the owner and talking about veganism, and she kind of inspired me to start working on the book as well, along with other people who were in the Bronx and saw the food that I was making and just wanted to know, how do you go vegan? So for me, I've always been somebody that wants to crunch numbers and try to save money, and chickpeas is probably like my favorite vegan staple because it's so versatile. This is something that you could literally use to make anything out of. You can make a curry with it. You can make a burger with it. Chickpeas are even now turned into pasta. So chickpeas are super versatile, have lots of protein. Obviously, there's a lot of carbs. So for folks who are trying to do like the paleo diets and things like that, wouldn't recommend chickpeas, but they are very versatile. And this is like a super easy recipe. The way that I do it, I boil my potatoes, I mash up my chickpeas with it, and then I bake it, make sure I season it. And then that's pretty much it. And then you just add whatever you want to the burger. So that's what's really cool about chickpeas, is that you can add anything to it and it tastes amazing. So as far as like, going back to being vegan in the Bronx, it's very hard. And I'm not sure like how many people on the call are from the Bronx. And what age ranges we have, accessibility, it's very difficult. If we're talking about food insecurity, like Gail mentioned, it is hard. And, slowly but surely we're seeing changes in the Bronx. But what I've noticed is that further up north, that's where there's a lot more vegan resources. So if you're in like the Castle Hill area, or if you're in like Nereid, Gun Hill, like very, very up north, there's a lot more vegan options there. There's actually a vegan restaurant called, well, it's not a restaurant, it's actually a bodega, excuse me. It's called Vegan Grill. And the food there isn't the healthiest. It's a lot more processed, like Impossible Burgers, quesadillas, but they do have like salads and things like that. They also have like a fridge where you can buy vegan eggs, like just egg, vegan cheese. They do have milk also at their store. So this is a place that I go. They're open 24 hours. So for me, that's a big thing for accessibility, because a store will close at like 9 and then you're stranded and you're like, what am I going to eat? So that's one place. I know there's like other venues like La Masa. It's a restaurant that they have vegan options there, but we're still fighting in the struggle and the revolution for vegan food in the Bronx. You know, we have something called food apartheid, which is just basically the segregation of resources with regards to the food system. So it's been hard for me personally, and I spent a lot of my vegan journey leaving the Bronx to go get, you know, vegan food and groceries. And I'm sure many people can relate to this, and it's a challenge. So I'm really thankful that everyone's here and committed to learning about veganism. Like, please do not feel discouraged. Please do not feel like because there's no resources or because there's no avenues that you shouldn't do it. Like, that's even more of a reason to do it, because with that demand comes the supply. So I think that with vegans like us, if there's any on the call that, you know, really want veganism to be in the Bronx, us existing really helps with that, because we're able to articulate that this is a need. So that's why on my website, I have a quote where I say, being vegan is a noble act, but being a Bronx vegan is revolutionary, because this is, like I said, a community that has been dealing with history and historic, you know, oppression and injustice. So we have to kind of fight back when it comes to what we're eating, what we allow the FDA to tell us is good for us and what's not. You know, there's a lot of things that are not really true, and there's a lot of misinformation. And something that I've also feel like is a really important thing when it comes to going vegan on your journey is making sure that you're able to read labels. So reading food labels is really important, and this goes back to my book. So in my book, I kind of explain the importance of reading labels and the importance of understanding that certain ingredients you have to stay away from. So I'm gonna like jump to the back of my book just to give you a little teaser, because most cookbooks, they'll just give you recipes and then that's it. They don't really tell you, hey, stay away from canola oil, stay away from high fructose corn syrup, stay away from carrageen, and all of these strange things that you're like, what is this? I don't even know how to pronounce this. So it's really important to have that kind of resource as well for yourself, and like just browse and see what's in your food, and then you'll start to realize that a lot of it is actually kind of corrupt. So in the beginning of my book, I believe it is, give me 1 second to find the page.
So
I talk
Daryl,
about this.
if you don't mind, while you're looking, I just want to highlight some of what you just said, which is the more people create a demand in the Bronx for products that are healthier, you know, the more they will show up. So I think that's a really important point. And also this idea that you just shared of staying away from things that you can't pronounce, right? There is this idea that if you can't pronounce it, it's probably not worth eating, right? So I love that. I just wanted to highlight that, and you can keep going. I just wanted to make sure that people really heard that.
It's true, and it really takes a lot of unlearning to even get to that point, because I remember when I first went vegan, I still didn't even read labels. I just wanted to make sure that it said vegan on it. So it just goes to show that there's an evolution to the journey, and it takes time to kind of understand and rewire your brain and rework it. But the longer you're vegan, the more that'll all come to light, and then you'll be at the supermarket and you'll just see something and you're like, oh, I'm not buying that. Oh, it has milk in it. They thought they were going to catch me. Because a lot of the time you'll see a product that'll say 100% natural, right? And you're like, oh, they got a vegan product. And then you read the ingredients on the back and it says may contain milk. So make sure that when you're reading labels and you look in the back, you look for whatever's in bold and in big, bold black letters, because that's going to tell you immediately if there's an animal product in there or not. So I have in my book
Can
here,
I just add to what you'll read the label?
Yes.
I love it. And just to emphasize what you're saying, that it's become very, very well known and clear that people of color actually have a very, very frequent intolerance for dairy. So, you know, a lot of times people think vegan is so unusual and difficult, but actually not eating dairy products in particular, for many people of color, is a great solution for resolving some health issues. So checking to see if it has dairy is probably, you know, really important for people who suffer in that way.
Yeah, I just seen a comment from Ray that says may contain dairy. That's another discrepancy, I think, when it comes to like food labeling and food security and food literacy. So the difference between food literacy and food security is that food security is all about access. What does the community have access to? Whereas food literacy is, what is your understanding of food labels and how to read and understand what does an item do for you? So the idea of, if I look at the back of a label and it says it may contain, me being somebody who has a high food literacy understanding, I know that I probably shouldn't trust that product unless that product's already vegan or already has like a history or a reputation for being vegan. So I would try to stay away from those products too, the ones that say may contain, especially if they don't have the certified vegan label, which we should probably get pictures of so people can know what to look for. It's like a circle and a heart inside.
So can I just ask you, Daryl, when you're talking about the reasons for going vegan, you said you were concerned about animals, which is a lot of people, that is their starting place. But can you just sort of talk about, like, now you're talking about health, reasons of health, avoiding dairy for reasons that have to do with, not feeling like it's easy to digest or that it's not good for your body. So can you kind of just talk about like what the different reasons are that would make a person want to be vegan in addition to?
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't have to, that's the beautiful thing about veganism, I feel, is that like there's so many reasons why people do it. I've met people who, even when I was in Africa, I was at a restaurant eating, and this guy was like, "Are you vegan?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, how long?" We're chatting, and I told him that I went vegan for the animals, and he was like, "I don't even care about the animals. I'm doing it for my health." I was like, so that's a great example of like some people are doing it because they understand that eating plant-based and like a whole foods plant-based diet, which is like not really eating a lot of processed foods, you're eating straight from the earth, you know what I'm saying? You're growing your own food even, or you're just buying fresh produce from like a farmer's market. That's really helpful because you're eating high vibrational foods. And the problem is that, we have so many minerals and vitamins in the body. There's 102 minerals, and you really can't get those minerals from a lot of things. You can't get them from animals sometimes. You really can't get them from certain vegan items. So for me, it was at first because of my ethical values, but I also have a autoimmune disorder that affects my hormones. It's called hyperthyroidism, and I talk about this also in my book. When I first got diagnosed with that at 13, I didn't even have any like side effects. I just thought I was just a regular girl from the Bronx living my life. And then all of a sudden I started to experience a lot of different changes, irregular periods and, fluctuating weight and appetite. Things were just affecting me in a really negative way. So once I learned more about that and learning more how to eat for your body, that was really key. I even have like books on, how to eat for certain conditions. I bought my mom a book all about like renal disease and how to eat for your kidneys. So there's different books out there and resources out there that will help you if you have like diabetes or even if you have gout. A lot of these issues can be resolved or subsided by a plant-based diet, especially if you're eating the right kinds of foods. I'm re-emphasizing not eating processed vegan foods because there's a difference. We have like the healthy vegans, then we have like the vegans that don't really care about what they eat. They just want to save animals, so they will eat like lots of grease and things like that. But what I noticed is that my health really improved when I started eating more from nature. And my energy levels changed. My iron levels were higher. My hair grew immensely. So a lot of it comes down to also being consistent. A lot of people want immediate change and instant gratification. And that's not the journey, right? The journey is you're going vegan and you're doing it for a month and you don't really feel anything yet. You have to really stick with it because this is years of unlearning, years of you eating certain foods. So your body's making an adjustment and your body's fighting to help you thrive. So yeah, right. It helped his mental health. For me, it helped my mental health. It helped me in a lot of ways. I once did like a vegan cleanse, and I had like no cramps, uh no muscle aches, nothing. There's lots of herbs out there that are also helpful. Like turmeric is like a super herb that helps with inflammation. So there's lots of different resources out there. There's lots of different natural remedies. So even if you're trying to go vegan and you don't want to really commit right away, looking into herbs and different like ginger, incorporating ginger into your diet, and like turmeric, things like that can actually really help you and ease the transition. And another good thing that I want to mention is how veganism improves the gut. So the gut health is very important because that's where your immune system is. So if we're talking about COVID and staying healthy, it's really important to be eating a lot of fruits, making sure that they're as organic and clean as possible, because even the way produce is made in this country, highly toxified with like pesticides and things like that. Also in my book, I mentioned which fruits to buy that aren't toxic and aren't made with pesticides, and then I mentioned the ones that are. So my book is like it's like a real guide for anybody really trying to go vegan. I even have resources in my book where I explain like the best ways to make swaps. So if you're looking for a swap from animal milk, you need like a plant-based milk. I have a swap for that. I have alternatives for cheese and things like that, just to help with the transition, because I know sometimes people worry like, how am I going to get my protein? I don't want to lose weight. Don't worry about that. The anxiety of worrying about losing weight is exactly why you're going to lose weight. And you really just have to understand that it's about eating enough and eating at the right times. Everybody has different needs and different body figure makeups. So it's different for everyone. But what I will say is that, again, to answer Gail's question, eating plant-based will totally revamp your health. But with caution, remember, don't just jump into it. That's what I did. And I had a very bad experience. I can kind of go into more detail about it, but I don't want to scare anybody. I think everyone's different. Like this might not even be the case for everyone. So yeah.
So Daryl, do you want to share maybe a few recipes with us that you have in your cookbook to entice people to want to purchase it?
Okay, let's see. I have a lot of different ones. I'm curious what folks are into. Like if maybe in the chat people can share what their favorite foods are. That'll be really cool. I can share. I have like a lot of junk food. So my I'm over here preaching about junk food, and then I have like a lot of like junk food. Honestly, I try to keep like a good mix. Like I have a burrito that's really fun and easy and cheap to make. So I'll talk a little bit about the burrito. I use like a tortilla wrap, and I'll put peppers inside and black beans, like a regular burrito, and vegan cheese. And let's see what else I put in there. That's it. Like I was very minimal, and there's nothing wrong with being minimal. Like if you're on a budget, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Also, baked potatoes, whether sweet potato or the Japanese sweet potato, I recommend those because regular potatoes don't have a lot of nutritional value. So you're really not going to be getting anything if you bake a regular potato. So try baking a sweet potato. I'll show you a picture of my sweet potato recipe because it's
I've
so
talked
pretty.
about that in this group. It's in several classes that sweet potatoes are more nutritious than white
They're
potatoes.
amazing. They're literally amazing. Okay,
And
I
a
don't
lot
know
of
if you can
people
really
don't know
see.
there are purple potatoes too out there.
I actually prefer the purple potatoes, the Japanese ones. I just think that they're less sweet because sweet potato is obviously sweet. I just feel like it's a little too sweet for me. So it depends on what I'm making it with. But I have like salads that I love to make with sweet potatoes. And the baked sweet potato, you can literally just bake it, and you can throw beans on top. You can throw hemp seeds, which is great for protein and it's alkaline. You could also even make milk out of hemp. So look into hemp if you haven't already. What
People are
else do I
saying,
have?
one woman is saying she likes pancakes. Somebody else is saying burgers, sweet potatoes. All of those things are things that you seem to be excited about
Let me
too.
show you my pancakes. Yeah, anything that has milk in it, you shouldn't buy it. Yeah, if it says may contain egg milk or anything, I wouldn't buy that. Just because you don't really know. You want to go with the sure thing. You want to go with brands that you trust, brands that you know are gonna actually care about your health, not tell you may or may not, because they know if it has eggs or something. They just don't wanna make it vegan, and that's the thing. Um, Pancakes is a really fun one too because going back to protein, a lot of people worry about, okay, how do I get my protein? and you might not want to make a protein shake. No one wants to sit here and drink a whole shake of mixed fruits. I know I don't. So having pancakes is a great way to incorporate that, because you can use like one serving and pancakes. You can throw anything you want: blueberries, chocolate chips. They have vegan chocolate chips at Target for like $4, and they're amazing.
Vegan
Nachos. Yeah, see, I have nachos too. There's so many different things you could do. I know, like, a lot of time. She made it 3 times, or is that a girl? Or
That's
sorry,
Charmaine, and we gotta tell the quick story of Charmaine, because Charmaine got the first version of your recipe, and she made
I'm
it.
so sorry.
No, but she stuck with it. She's a nutrition teacher at the Bronx Community College. She's the director. Look what she's got. She made them this evening, and she alerted us to we needed to revise the recipe, and then she's made it 3 times. So we got to give her credit for the beautiful recipe that you guys all now have. And she's been testing it for us.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Say, it's delicious. I'm going to freeze them.
Yes, yes, that's a perfect way to preserve them. That's what I used to do.
And I added some West Indian hot sauce, my culture.
Okay. That's what I love. That's what I'm saying. You could literally do whatever you want. Like, you could put barbecue sauce if you want. You could put hot sauce. You could put any sauce, really. I mean, I like the idea of the mustard, though. As for someone's question,
there's a question that came in that somebody is trying to know whether you have a favorite vegan dessert recipe that they can substitute during the holidays because they have in-laws who are vegan.
Let's see. Depending on the season, I think cookies are great. Cookies are so easy to make vegan, and that's usually how I try to convert people. Like, if someone's like, I really have a sweet tooth and I can't stop eating this, it's like, all right, let me just make them cookies, because cookies is the one thing that if you gave someone a vegan cookie and a non-vegan cookie, they wouldn't tell the difference. What they tend to tell the difference on is if it's gluten-free or if it's not gluten-free. So if you don't have a gluten intolerance, you could still make vegan cookies without eggs. Sometimes you don't even need to put like a vegan egg alternative. You could use like a small part of a banana. You could use chia seeds depending on the texture. In my book, I have this brand. I'm going to see if I could pull it up for you guys. Let's see. You could use like all-purpose flour, which is really nice because it gives you like that chewy kind of texture. And then once you do that, you can add agave. I would use agave just because it's like the best kind of sweetener. It really like works its way into the rest. I don't really like sugar because it's just hard to break down, and the body doesn't really respond well to any other sugar that isn't like a nectar. So like maple syrup is good, like kind of using those kind of sweeteners instead of using like table sugar. Stay away from table sugar. That's just gonna spike your blood sugar levels. It's probably going to bring you on the road to diabetes if you're like older than 40. And even if you're young, like I remember when I was in high school, I got a blood test done and I was warned that I needed to cut back on my sugar intake. So that just shows you the power of table sugar. I was eating Reese's and all that kind of stuff. Ice cream pops, super easy to make.
Many alternatives now for refined sugar, right? As you mentioned, agave, date sugar, maple syrup, all of those are great substitutes. And most recipes you can just sub it out and it'll still be delicious. Can you tell us, Stella is asking, what is a substitute for chickpeas when making the petty vegan burger?
Oh, that's a good question. You might have to actually just make a different type of burger, because the chickpeas is really the meat of it.
But if you use like red beans or
oh yeah, you could use like black beans if you wanted, because I have a black bean burger recipe, and lentil's a good one. Forgot about lentil. That's like a really good source of protein because it has so much protein in it. It has like more protein than almost any other legume. I think it's like the highest. And lentil is really nice in terms of like the burger texture. Yeah. If you mix like lentil with potato or lentil with black bean, that's a good
Absolutely. And which means that her recipe, you don't have to call it chickpea burger. If you substitute some other kind of bean, you can rename the burger, but follow the same steps, it sounds like. Is that correct, Daryl?
Yep. Definitely. I think with lentils though, it's a little different because lentils are lighter. So you might have to use probably more potato to really hold it together so that it's not this mushy patty, or you might have to cook it longer. So if you do manage to make a recipe, send that to me because I think that lentils are very thin even when you cook them. Oh, quinoa is another one. Quinoa burgers. Stop playing. Those are great. You could like do anything with quinoa. You could even make home fries with quinoa. I once like cooked I made quinoa and I put like a little bit more water than I'm supposed to, and then it got like mushy and fluffy, and then I just like turned it into a patty and I froze those, and then I fried them the next day in some avocado oil, and I put parsley and salt on it and a little bit of garlic. Perfect. And that's like
That's our next class.
That's a really great protein to eat. I know sometimes quinoa can be expensive, and the cheapest place that I've gotten it from was probably Target. They have like a 16-ounce bag, I think, for $5. Whole Foods has like you can weigh it and buy it that way. It's very expensive, but it really is the ultimate protein. It's a complete amino acid. So your body really like needs amino acids to formulate actual protein. So that's a really good protein to use if you don't want to do chickpea or you're tired of chickpea. Substitute with quinoa. That's a really good one.
Excellent.
I have another dessert that I wanted to share because it's really easy to make, and it's kind of like holiday, Halloween even. Like if you have like nephews or people coming over for Halloween or November, you can make these Reese's or any buttercups. Maybe they're allergic to peanuts. I know nuts is tricky, but these are really easy to make. These buttercups, and you just buy those like little cupcake fillers, and you'll buy like a pack of chocolate chips. You'll melt those with a little bit of oil, just a little bit, because you know the chocolate really melts itself. Keep the flame on super low. Make it into like a nice, whipped little puree. Pour less than half into the container, and then add whatever butter you want. You could do cashew butter, almond butter, hazelnut butter, Brazil nut butter, any butter you want, and then just add one more layer and put it in the fridge for like an hour. Delicious, easy. And you can just keep making those. Those are like a nice little quick welcome to my apartment, happy holidays. Like it's super super easy to make, and cheap. That's like one of my favorite desserts. It's an effort to make, but it's really not that big of an effort. It's kind of fun too for kids too. I think it could be nice to like have kids help out make that during the holidays as like a bonding exercise or something. Cupcakes too are great. I'm going to keep referencing Target because Target is probably like the most affordable place for Bronxites to get vegan items, and they're really getting better at finding products for people. If you go to their baking section, they have a lot of vegan 4-ingredient like desserts. They have like pancake mix, they have cupcake mix, and it's very easy, simple like instructions in the back and like 5 ingredients. So I recommend those products. I can't remember the name of the brand, but I will mention it to Gail and then forward it to you guys because it's a great brand, and all of their stuff tastes amazing, and it's high quality stuff. They use like almond flour, and it's all gluten free. So I feel like they're really worth buying that product specifically. Yeah, what else?
Daryl, one thing I'm noticing is, you're number one, reminding people that even if they're vegan, they still get to eat dessert. That's one thing. And right, because a lot of people think if you're vegan, you're not eating anything that's sweet or dessert-like. And you definitely just gave us so many examples of how that's not really true. And the other thing is that when you cook dessert by yourself, just what you were explaining, like with chocolate and the nut on top, and you're kind of making a Reese's, anytime you're doing that homemade, it's going to have fewer sugars and sweeteners than if you're buying, a Reese's peanut butter cup. So
Yep.
I love that you're sharing kind of how to do that from scratch, because that will always be the healthier option. I mean, the same is true with, meals that we prepare for ourselves. Even if we're adding salt, we're not going to be adding as much salt as the packaged food or the processed food would have.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes you just have to trust the brands that you're using because a lot of these brands already have sugars in them. And if you think that it needs more sugar, like you're probably wrong because they already have the sugars in it. And the specific brand that I'm thinking of, I can't remember, but it already has, I think, cane sugar in it, which is I would recommend that more than I would recommend regular sugar because it's super processed and refined and just so bad for you. But yeah, it's possible to make that work and get creative. And that's the fun thing about being vegan is that you can experiment and you can do all of that on a low budget, especially if you shop at the right places. In my book, I reference other than Target, Aldi's. I don't know if Aldi's is near anybody in the South Bronx. There's an Aldi's, but they have a lot of sales there. And Whole Foods, occasionally they have their Prime sale. If you're a Prime member, you can get another additional 10% off. So sometimes it's just about getting creative and like knowing like, okay, I have this here. I don't have to go there. Trader Joe's is another place that has a lot of cheap stuff. They even have pre-made vegan snacks. So you can go to Trader Joe's and get a bunch of stuff. There's also an Instagram page, if anyone's on Instagram, Veg News. That's a great place to follow because they're always posting new products coming out. They're always posting articles. They're always posting whenever a supermarket has new products, they'll even give you like tips, like 20 products for the new year or 20 products for the holidays that you can find in Trader Joe's. Like great resource if you're, the kind of person that's overwhelmed by having to do your own research. So definitely follow Veg News.
Okay, great tips. Okay, anything else before we wrap it up that you want to share with the group, or any other questions that people might want to ask Daryl before we finish up this evening? I'm happy to share my summary if you feel like you're done, Daryl. Where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to take any questions from anyone. I'm always a resource. I don't want to talk your ears off. I know you guys probably were super excited to see me cook, and I will get you that video as promised. But if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or, email. I have a website that we're going to drop in the chat, so you can also subscribe to my website. I'm planning to share monthly recipes. If I can start doing, weekly ones at some point, I will. But for now, I'll probably just do like a recipe a month and, just something easy you could try at home that'll be under $10 to make. So I don't want to like have people stressed out about, I can't afford it. And I can't afford to make this stuff that she's sending me. So keep an eye out for that. Subscribe to my website.
There is a question here of what do you think of Miyoko cheeses?
Oh, I do not like Miyoko cheeses. Oh my God. I'm so happy somebody asked me this because vegan cheese is a tricky topic. I know a lot of people are like, I can't stop eating cheese. I'm so addicted to cheese. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish people weren't, I wish there wasn't chemicals in actual cheese because that's the reason why people can't get off of it because it's basically like dopamine in there. Chow is the best cheese personally. Ray just dropped that in the chat. Chow and Violife are probably the best quality cheeses. And then underneath that, I would put like Daya and Mayoko. I love the CEO. I actually met her. Great person. But I just don't like the way the cheese tastes. Like it doesn't even taste like cheese at all. Like I'm not really sure like how to use it even. So I wouldn't buy that, but I would support her in other ways because she's a really great businesswoman, great vegan advocate. I just don't think her products really taste that good. She has butters though. And I know she's coming out with some desserts or something. I think I saw something like that. But that's not really a cheese that I think anybody would really like.
Well, Susan is sharing.
Sorry to say, I'm sorry, Mayoko. I feel so bad. I love her as a person.
I don't know if she likes it or doesn't like it. So Costco quinoa, somebody's saying is 4.5 pounds for $9.59. And Violife is the best, says Jocelyn regarding cheese.
Yeah.
So, everybody has their different opinion, and it's good to just compare notes so that people know what to look for when they go shopping. And
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you. Some of the things that I learned this evening is pacing yourself if you're moving towards veganism or want to eat less animals and more plants. Take it gradually. We should create demand in the Bronx for vegan products. Stay away from things that you can't pronounce. Read labels. Daryl was talking about how food literacy is important to know what products to trust and how to eat, depending on what issues you have. Plant-based diets can really help to reverse chronic diseases. You can be vegan for so many reasons, for animal safety or for personal health. As Daryl pointed out, your energy improves, your mental health improves. It got rid of her cramps and her muscle aches. A lot of this is really an opportunity to unlearn certain eating habits that you have, but it does sound like Dariel's personal experience really helped her thrive, and we're so glad that she shared that with us tonight. Also, remember to eat herbs, things like turmeric help with reducing inflammation. Ginger is amazing to add to your meals. It improves gut health, and that improves your immunity. There's a guide in her book for how to go vegan, so definitely check that out. I think you got a little more information on all the vegan cheeses out on the market. So that is all amazing. And again, I want to thank you for your time tonight, and for all of the rest of you who came to listen, for showing up for yourselves and making your health and wellness a priority. Dariel, thank you for sharing this recipe with us. And I know that many of us will look forward to getting the recording. And thank you also for your passion about healthy eating and veganism and food justice in the Bronx. Leaders like you give us all hope for the future of our borough. Again, we know that eating fruits and vegetables is the best medicine of all, and that consuming healthy, real food instead of processed foods strengthens our bodies, immune systems, and moods. Diet is critical to preventing and even reversing many chronic diseases, including heart disease and diabetes. So let's learn how to make better food choices together. Let's do this for yourself, your family, and the planet. It is not out of reach, and we can do it together in community. So thank you again for being here. And I hope you guys all have a good holiday and stay safe in all of this crazy new virus time. We're rooting for you and rooting for your health, and really glad to see you and hope to see you again in the new year. So take good care, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. This was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.